Today, I particularly want to talk about franchising. The stereotypes exist because they're true. So one of the most common ones that you'll hear is like, you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. Business is hard enough, as I've learned from both trying to start my own, but also from acquiring a successful one. Hey, how's it going? This is The Drive with Rick Vazza. We'll be talking about business and investing. Today, I particularly want to talk about franchising. So most of my career in wealth management, I was confused at the idea of why anyone would want to pay a royalty to go into business when they could just buy another business. Now I'm the proud owner of a franchise, so I've had a pretty 180 on this topic, and I thought it would be helpful to review my rationale and reasoning on why I went a different direction. So in tandem to owning the franchise that I own, which is Zoom Drain, which I'll talk a little bit more about, I also own two other plumbing companies that are not franchises. So I have I think an interesting perspective now on both sides of it. And so I started my entrepreneur and business journey actually launching my own financial planning firm, which was called Driven Wealth Management, back in 2018. And I got to experience all of the very challenging difficulties of starting a company from scratch and just how difficult that is. So it was a really interesting lens because I went from being the only person at the company wearing all of the hats. And then in 2021, I acquired John Padilla Plumbing, which had a fantastic team in place already. So we got to experience really two completely different channels here of, you doing everything and then inheriting an amazing team that now you can work with and support. I'm certainly the type, I'm not a lone wolf by any means, so the team aspect was way more attractive to me. I love collaborating with people and get energized by their ideas and really seeing them come to new heights with their careers. Like, that's the stuff that I get really energized about. So that was partly why I love the acquisition process and I'm so glad I did it. But as we thought about the next journey with our plumbing division, there was a kind of a missing gap that we were having with drains. And there was a decision tree that I had to work through that was either launch my own drain company from scratch or potentially acquire another one and try to go in that direction, or ultimately franchise, which is what I ended up choosing to do. And I'll talk more about Zoom Drain specifically in a different video, but for this video, I want to talk about why I ended up landing on the franchising decision, because I think there are a lot of things that I initially was very skeptical about and even confused or ignorant of, I guess is the right word, when I was in wealth management, that now I am like, I laugh because I'm like, I love the franchise business model. So when it comes to franchising, you'll hear there's like a few things that get thrown around all the time, and it's, the stereotypes exist because they're true. So one of the most common ones that you'll hear is like, you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. And I really love this because one of the things that I certainly thrive around is, I'm very competitive and I like a little healthy competition. So knowing there's other people who are playing in the same sandbox by the same rules and all of that type of stuff, like I love trying to be like, well, I'm going to do better than that. Like, that's just a nice healthy competition piece of it. But then there's also the fact that like we really do, even though we're like I just mentioned the competing piece, we're really not competing against each other because we're in different markets and everything. So you really want to see each other win, because obviously if we all do better, that helps lift up the brand in general. So there's a really nice collaborative approach of it. And so what I think is great is you're then being able to tap into this huge resource pool of people who have literally been exactly in your shoes or are in them now. And you can get firsthand accounts of, hey, what are you dealing with? What are you battling with? And that's really uncommon and virtually, I would say, non-existent. There's entrepreneur networks and things like that people can join. But even then, there's no way that they have the exact same experiences or the same challenges that they're going through, which pros and cons. I think sometimes there's value to have other lenses and perspectives, but there is certainly something to be said for knowing this person is literally in the exact same knife fight that I'm in day in, day out, and being able to leverage that expertise. So that is first and foremost, I would say, one of the best things. The second thing is then having, business is hard enough, as I've learned from both trying to start my own, but also from acquiring a successful one. But even then, business is very, very hard. It's just the reality of it. So knowing you have a team supporting you and behind you who is really pushing on driving the business further, is incredibly valuable. So with the franchise model, obviously if you're buying into an existing brand, that's a proven track record, it's a proven history, all that type of stuff. You're assuming that those systems and processes have worked and been successful because obviously the outcome is apparent. Now, if you're buying into an emerging brand, you obviously have more homework that you need to do. So in my case, our brand was more on the emerging side at the time, or I guess technically still is on the emerging side. But what you're then trusting is the team. So is the team that's in place, do you like them? Do you value them? All those types of things. But do they have a track record and are they showcasing that they're going to be successful? Because if I'm focused on growing, my quote unquote little portion of this business, do I have someone behind me who's really focused on moving the whole ship in the right direction? And do I trust that they're going to be competent and capable of doing that? And in my case, that was a wild yes. I really have a lot of high respect and appreciation for what the team's accomplished in their track records, but also in seeing the growth and success rate that they've had with the brand so far. So that's awesome because you're then, able to leverage things that maybe you're not the best at. Me personally, so, marketing, you're getting operations insights, you're getting all of these perspectives that are very, very helpful. And so specifically from that standpoint, one of the things that's very valuable, and people will question, why am I paying a royalty? But there is so much value to be said for someone literally handing you a playbook and saying, if you follow this playbook, you will be successful, right? That's the McDonald's, so many people in the entrepreneur space read the E-Myth, and the E-Myth trains you, even if you're not going into franchising, you should still be building your business as if you were, because that's ultimately with the playbook that you're trying to be able to drop on your operator's lap is follow this and be successful. Well, the franchise is essentially what you're doing. Now, of course, if you buy into a franchise that doesn't have those in place, well, you've probably just made a really big mistake, because that's really the point of your royalty, is to do that. But in our case, the operations are dialed in. They have all these different playbooks that have been really, really valuable. And actually, they even help us on our other company, because what we can say is, well, hey, these things are all really successful and they're well-oiled machine. Why are we not doing that over here? So it actually even has a really tremendous spillover effect, where I'm seeing our other businesses get even better from now having the relationship with the franchise, which is ironically the smallest part of our business right now, but is growing probably the fastest. So I think in the long run, it's going to be a really significant portion of our business. But it's interesting that we're stealing ideas from the smallest component of our business right now. But that's the power of having a huge franchise brand behind you. So, in just hopefully you can tell in just a short order, right? You have collaboration impact, you have leadership and things happening behind the scenes. So, people working with you, even when you're working on your other aspects of the business. And then of course you have operation systems and manuals that can be followed. Now, the last piece of that I think becomes really attractive is because those operations and systems are dialed in, it does allow for scaling to be more significant. Now, ironically, it seems like most of the podcasts that I listen to or channels I follow, they don't mention anyone really in home services, broadly speaking, or truck-based business or things like that have been able to scale really significantly. You see in the fast food, you have the Greg Flynn's, you have the Jamie Weeks of Orange Theory. So you have some really massive success models in some of these other spaces that they've been able to really scale out and build multi-territory and multi-unit franchise systems. That hasn't really been the case, at least to my understanding, of home services. But I don't know, maybe I'm the optimist, but I like to be that guy at some point. So I'm very excited to see if we can pull that off and grow and ultimately, have a huge impact in the Zoom Drain network. I think it's very attractive and that there's an opportunity there. But why I bring that up, because of the importance of it, is if you don't have those systems and processes in place, it's very, very challenging to scale. So it's obviously, you can't just plug an operator into a new market and say, good luck. Right? It's so the nice thing with the franchise model is you're able to say, hey, you're going to go open X market. Here's the playbook to follow. I'm obviously here to support and coach you and give everything you need as a owner would do. But the operator now has such an advantage that they're going to be able to leverage by being able to utilize that network and those systems. That really, if we were just to take our standalone brand and try to replicate that over and over, it would be really hard, of course, unless we built out those systems and processes in place. And I think having exposure to the franchise system is actually going to allow us to do that even faster. So my goal is that we will catch up and do all of those things with our company, and there'll be complementary business that we could ultimately open in different territories going forward. And that is a goal of mine. But I don't think we would be able to do that nearly as fast or without the exposure to the franchise system that we've had. So obviously, you can tell I've had a significant 180 on franchises, and I'm excited about the opportunity that they're going to present. And then in the next video, I'll talk about why specifically I like the Zoom Drain business model and why I've decided to partner with them on this chapter of our business journey. Sorry. You cut that part. So thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful. If it was, again, new podcast, so please give it a share, help us grow the reach, hit the like, the subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you want to reach out to me directly, I'm at Rick Vazza on Twitter, or you can feel free to drop a comment here in the YouTube comments, and I'd be more than happy to connect. And if you have any questions that I can do a video on, obviously would love to hear that feedback as well. Thank you.